nobody in Dub Nation is talking about these two moves that the Golden State Warriors made this offseason. Yes, I'm talking about Quinten Post and Gui Santos, two players who really emerged at the back end of the Warriors rotation during the home stretch of last season following the Jimmy Butler trade. On today's show, we're going to break down these two Warriors roster moves that they made this offseason. As Anthony Slater reported last week, that the Warriors have exercised the team options on Gui Santos and Quinten Post for next season. Santos is on the books for $2.2 million, non-guaranteed as well. That doesn't fully get guaranteed up until January. And then Post at $1.9 million. A pair of late second-round picks who have now made a rotation impact and were really instrumental in Golden State being on a 60-win pace the last 30 games of the season. So it was really, really cool to see these guys, make an impact, even over, more productively than some of the players that we saw drafted higher or in the first round from the Golden State Warriors over these past few seasons. So I'm going to tell you guys, if you might be thinking to yourself right now, these guys are scrubs, these moves really mean nothing, I'm going to tell you why they are not. Well, for one, before we get started, Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler account for over 70% of the Golden State Warriors cap space, not only for this season and next season as well, 2025-26 and 2026-27. So what that means is they're going to need to get players that are big-time values, and at $2.2 million for Santos and less than $2 million for QP, like that, it's a no-brainer to bring these guys back and potentially have them improve upon their skill sets and be more of a factor in their rotation this season. Now, before we get into a deep breakdown of QP and Gui Santos, I got a challenge from Knicks Now host Marshall Green here at Chat Sports. He said that we could not get 500 likes on this video, and I said, Marshall, we do this all the time. Dub Nation are the real ones, and so that's why I'm calling upon you guys right now. Go down below and hit that big thumbs up icon if you're excited for these Warriors standout young players to make another impact this season and to prove Knicks Now host Marshall Green wrong. All right, let's talk about it. Quinten Post, a second-round steal from the 2024 NBA draft. Look, this guy came into the league as a player who's going to be a stretch big and having an elite trait already in a knockdown three-point shot, not only from in the corners but above the break as well. He really has hot zones all over the floor as a catch-and-shoot threat, and he was that when he got his two-way contract converted to a standard deal once the calendars turned to 2025. In December, he was not playing all that great. He only played in 2 appearances. It was 3 minutes a game. This is when he was on that two-way deal, and he didn't make much of an impact. But the Warriors, I guess, saw enough flashes to bring him in once the calendar flipped, and then he became a real player in the Warriors' rotation as they were thin in the front court, and just really things weren't working with Kevon Looney and TJD kind of being the platoon bigs there at the center spot. Look, man, he was making an impact in basically every game that he played, and he saw a lot of starting opportunities as well down the stretch of the season. In January, he was getting his feet wet a little bit, but was already shooting the ball at an effective, really efficient clip, 41% from 3, just coming over from playing mostly G League ball for the first, part of his NBA career. And he was quickly there was a green light given to Quinten Post, and he was very, very comfortable with it. When the ball hit his hands, he had no problem jacking it up if he saw an opening or himself wide open in the flow of the Warriors' half-court offense, which was really good once they made the trade for Jimmy Butler. And you see, when the calendar turned to March, he got his three-point volume all the way up to 5 attempts a game and shot it at a 42.5% clip. That is really, really good and not something that you see often from 52nd overall picks in this league. He was averaging nearly 10 points a game for a 2-month stretch. Was, not the best rebounder, but he was collecting them out there and starting breaks for Golden State. An underrated passer of the basketball as well. Does need to work on his hands a little bit, but his offensive game already has so much polish, and it seems like he's going to be a factor moving forward for Golden State, who we know has a thin front court once again. Looney's on his way out. How much of a factor is Trey Jackson-Davis going to be in the rotation next season? If I had to bet, it's not going to be much. Tim Kawakami, remember, said before the real offseason got kicked into full gear, that he said that the Warriors aren't going to go after a stretch 5. And he said, I think that they're going to try to lean on Quinten Post this season to be a big part of the rotation, potentially be the starter for the majority of Golden State's games in 25-26. And is that, something that I'm excited, super excited about? I don't know. A second-year player who, maybe teams get a little bit more film on when they're scouting Golden State and he sees a little bit of regression. I hope that's not the case. I hope he only gets better as his career goes on. But there's no debate that he is going to play in this Warriors rotation again next season. Now, I'm not sure at this moment in time. Reports are coming out as I'm filming this video that the Golden State Warriors and Al Horford are intensifying talks on a free agency signing. By the time you see this video, Al Horford will very, very likely be signed somewhere. So if they end up, securing this deal with Horford, expect those two to be playing pretty similar minutes throughout the season. And, Al Horford could teach a thing or two to Quinten Post. So I'd be excited to see that duo work and the Warriors really be able to play a 5-out offense close to 100% of the time with those two guys at the 5. Now, Golden State has a lot of faith in them. We can already see it this offseason as Quinten Post was not put on the Summer League roster for 2025. So they already believe that he doesn't need that extra time this offseason to work with the young talent and the players who are trying to make it in this league. He's already got a solidified spot in the rotation. That's what it means when you're not put on the Summer League roster. And it's crazy that Golden State had Brandon Podziemski and Trayce Jackson-Davis both playing on the 2024 Summer League roster. It's crazy to see that Quinten Post, just less than a year or less than 6 months out of a two-way contract is not even playing summer ball for Golden State. And Steve Kerr spoke very highly about QP following the season. He said, "I have high hopes for Quinten Post. I thought Quinten had a great rookie season. He showed the impact he can make, and I think he'll make a lot of improvement." And I think he will as well. He seems like he's already got great chemistry with everybody within the Warriors locker room. He's buying in to the, launch up a bunch of threes system that Golden State employs. But there are things that he needs to improve upon. Really needs to improve upon. He got played out of the postseason, really. And honestly, once the calendar turned to April, games started becoming more consequential. QP was becoming less and less valuable and less playable out there on the basketball court. But I think after an offseason of work with this team, knowing what his role can be in the system, it's going to be, a really great partnership for years to come. But like I said, he's got to improve upon some things. He's got to improve upon his, interior defense and overall defense. This is one of the players who was most gullible when it comes to pump fakes that I've ever seen. If you gave one head fake to Quinten Post, you were getting him up in the air, and that's really what got him played out of a lot of games. Plus the physicality down low with some of the Houston Rockets bigs and Minnesota Timberwolves bigs really had him struggling. And in that same vein, he also must get better offensively in that end. That was one of the big issues. Yeah, he can hit that outside shot, but a lot of his shots made, I think it was over 4/5 of his shots made, over 80% of his shots made were with zero dribble. So he really cannot create much for himself. It's not ideal when he puts the ball on the deck, and when he gets around that rim, he's really not all that efficient. Remember, Warriors fans were super pressed about Trayce Jackson-Davis and how bad that he was within 10 feet. He was shooting about 58.5% from the field within 10 feet. QP was way worse. He was shooting 51% from the field in the games that he played when he was shining during the regular season. And then once the postseason hit, he was unplayable. I really don't have another word to describe it. 38.5% from the field within 10 feet. That's unacceptable for a player who stands above 7 feet. He has to be better in that area, and I think he will be. He's a sponge of a player. He just wants to get better. He wants to buy into this Warriors system and be a player. Once he's got this rotation spot, I'm sure QP doesn't want to give it up. So I guarantee that he's going to improve and make the marginal improvements that he needs to make in order to really be a relied upon player for this Warriors team in 25-26 and beyond. What's your confidence level in Quinten Post? Scale for me down in the comments section. 1 being this guy's cooked. He's not going to be a long-term piece for the Dubs. 10 being that he is the starter, solidified. I got full faith in Quinten Post. You let me know what you think down in the comments section. Next, like I said, another Warriors being slept on, man. And you guys might have even lower hopes on Gui Santos, but I'm here to tell you, there aren't a lot of guys in this league that play at the intensity level and with the passion, with the drive to improve like Gui Santos does. I'll let you know about that in just a moment, but make sure you guys get hooked up with the 2025 playoff shirts. QP and Gui didn't play all that well during their opportunities in the postseason, but I always love commemorating the runs that these teams make. And Golden State, you can say what you want. They had a really, really solid season this year, and they made the improvements they needed to make at the trade deadline. So commemorate their run with Jimmy Butler, Steph, and the whole crew at this link right here, chatsports.com/win4bay. I'll put that in the comment section and description of today's video as well. Go get yourself a fresh 2025 Warriors playoff shirt for literally half off. $18. It's a no-brainer. All right, Gui Santos, man. He's just a winning player at the end of the day. Somebody who I just mentioned, Quinten Post, wants to buy into this Warriors system. Yeah, because his skill set is, very conducive to what Golden State wants to do. Gui Santos buys into the Warriors system because he just wants it, man. He is a dog, and he's just a hungry player overall. Somebody who came from Brazil, where there is really not a lot of NBA talent. You talk about a guy like Leandro Barbosa back in the day who had big-time success with Golden State. But, Gui comes from, a very, very shallow group of NBA talent. Back in 2022, he was the Brazil League Sixth Man of the Year, so he just already knows how to be a winning contributor. He's a 55th overall pick. Again, another slot where you don't see players really making an impact at the next level. He's the first Golden State Warrior ever drafted directly from Brazil's professional league. He was the G League, he was 2023 G League MVP in the Next Up game. And then, he qualified for the 2024 Olympics representing Brazil. He was on that squad. He actually ended up playing the USA, so it was cool to see Steph and company match up against Gui in that 2024 Olympic run. Golden Dagger, never forget that. But Gui, was like, look, the statistics aren't going to show that he is, some player that you need to have in your rotation. But it's really what shows up off of the box score. Like, you don't even need to pay attention to anything he does. He can hit the outside shot. I think the 33% is not indicative of how he is as a shooter. But, this is a guy who is always going to dive on the floor for the basketball when it's loose. He's always going to be chasing down offensive rebounds. Like, how many times was I on the watch parties this past season just screaming my head off about Gui Santos generating more possessions for Golden State, whether it be a deflection or a chase down offensive rebound, like a long offensive rebound where nobody's, exerting the effort. Gui was always there, and he's always a sponge. That's why I'm so confident in him expanding upon his actual basketball ability as he gets further and further into his Warriors tenure. Gui said this, talking about how he is, improved as a shooter, just watching Steph and Clay and the players that he's been around so far during his Warriors career. He said, "I'm the guy who likes to watch. So I've always been watching how Curry shoots, the movement, the footwork, and all the little details that you see. I'm a guy that likes to watch it, especially like last year. Clay was here too. So there was another guy that I was always watching to see how he moves without the ball to get set, to shoot the ball, because the shot begins before you shoot the ball. How you ever set up your body before you even get the ball in your hands? Like, look, man, he constantly wants to be a sponge, and he also wants to get the guys who he knows can make shots at a much higher clip than he can the basketball. He always wants to get Steph the rock. Like, he's always looking, waiting for Curry to execute his off-ball movements and find the opening in the pocket in the defense. And he's always putting the ball on the money. Like, Steph wants him on the basketball court too. Such an opposite to what Jonathan Kuminga does on the basketball court. Me. Gui Santos is looking for everybody but himself, and Steph notices that, and that's when he gets into this coach mode sometimes during the season and wants to make some decisions because he wants the players out there that are going to best suit him, and whatever best suits him is going to best suit the Warriors for success. Draymond Green, remember, after one of the games this past year, mentioned how Steph kind of takes over as that player coach. And he said, you saw Gui come back later in the game. Steph went to Steve Kerr like, Gui Santos needs to be in the game right now. It's high praise from a guy who's like a top 10 basketball player ever, first ballot Hall of Famer, multiple-time MVP, four-time champ. Like, Steph likes Gui Santos. I like Gui Santos. I want him around for a long time. What do you guys think? Should Gui Santos be a part of the Golden State rotation next season? They are making some marginal improvements around this roster, but Gui, I think, earned his stripes this past year. And can he get 10 minutes a game while Golden State has Steph, Jimmy, Draymond all sitting out at different points during the season as they are up there in age? Should Gui Santos be a part of that Golden State rotation? Why for yes and for no? You let me know down in the comments section. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Lock us in for Warriors content all offseason long. I know things are getting a little bit more dead as the offseason gets more into the dog days, but we're not stopping the Warriors content no matter what. We'll be covering the Warriors Summer League and all that good stuff. So lock us in, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys on the next one. As always, let's go Dubs.